Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rebecca, otherwise known as Hip Knit Hooray Online, and today I wanted to share my summer knitting plans with stash yarn. So I'm a bit late to the seasonal planning game. It's going to be the end of June by the time I edit and release this video, if not a little bit later. And so I thought about just skipping this season and just knitting as many summer projects that I can and that I'm able to in the next 2 months before I might turn again towards some more cozy and woolly sweaters and cardigans. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I already have some stash yarn ready to go and some potential projects and inspiration that I have as well. And I have my two summer reflection videos, I guess I'll call them. And so I was always in the mindset that I would film this video anyways and chat about things that are inspiring me. So I thought, you know what, I'll do it, and it may be a little bit ambitious, but that's the case with all of my other seasonal planning videos. I don't usually get to all of them, which to me I think is fine, because even though the yarn still may be in stash at the end of the season, it's still a really fun exercise. So with this one, I have my stash yarn, but I think I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I have the yarn in stash, but I have, I guess, a few projects that I'm thinking of, or a few potential projects that I'm thinking of for each yarn. So I'm going to show the yarn and share some of those patterns. In my two summer reflection videos, I chatted a little bit more about how I wanted to approach summer knitting in the future, and specifically garment knitting. I won't be too repetitive if you watched that already, but I wanted higher necklines, I wanted finer gauges, smaller needle sizes, and so I feel like you can kind of see that in my first summer cast on, which I already shared in my last podcast, which is the Pie Camisole. It has that high halter neckline. It's knit on 2.5 millimeter needles and with fingering weight yarn, so it has that finer gauge that I was looking for. So that's kind of the trend for this video. I'm hoping that I'm going to end up with some more summer projects that I'm actually really happy with. So that's the first plan. I won't chat too much about it because I already kind of went into this pattern specifications before. So moving on to the first stash yarn that I wanted to share, it's Premier Cotton Fair, which I have leftovers from a previous summer tank that I knit. It's a wrap top by Anne Catherine. And so I have about 500 meters left of this yarn, so definitely enough to knit another summer top for me. It's 290 meters for every 100 grams. So it's about a sport weight or weight 2 yarn, and it's a blend of cotton and acrylic. And what I was thinking for this yarn, I wanted to knit the Audrey top by Petite knit. And it's similar, I guess, to this camisole that I'm wearing now. This is the twin flower camisole, which is a pattern by Loaf Knits. It's a high halter neck knit with DK weight yarn on 4 millimeter needles. And there's 10 sizes with a finished bust of 80 to 150 centimeters. And the suggested DK weight yarn, there's 2 options in the pattern. You can either hold 2 fingering weight yarns together or 1 DK weight. And the potential options or suggested yarn in the pattern are Sandnesgarn, Mandarin Naturel, or Lena. Thank you to people who left comments in my previous summer faves video telling me how to properly pronounce Lena. I'm hoping I got that right. I kind of struggle with pronunciation sometimes, so corrections in the comments is always appreciated, so I can try again in the future. But yes, Lena. And this top, again, very similar to the twin flower camisole, and what I really like about stockinette summer tanks is that it's knit from the bottom up, but you can adjust it by casting on with Judy's Magic Cast On, so you can work the neckline and the armholes, but then you can adjust the length as you go. So it's knit from the bottom up, you cast on, you join in the round, you knit the body, and then you separate for the front and the back panel, and you work decreases to shape those. There's really simple finishing on this tank as well. I believe it's just a knit bind off, so really simple and clean finishing, but I'm thinking of making a potential modification to the neckline of the Audrey top. So something that I've been seeing, I guess, in stores, I can't point to a specific one, but I think I saw it one day when I was like scrolling on either in Instagram or Pinterest, but I saw this tank that had a picot edge here at the top, and so I'm going to try and modify the Audrey top so the I think I'll do the front and the back, but the neckline will have a picot edge here. I'm thinking I'll do like a folded down picot edge. I'll see how it works because this yarn is DK weight and on 4mm needles. I think you might size down for the picot edge, but I don't know if it's going to be too thick at the top or like it's just gonna look a little bit bulky. So I'm gonna try it, but that's what I was thinking for this tank. I think it'll be a little fun twist and add some nice decorative edging. So that's my plan with the cotton fair. Yeah, I'm pretty set on knitting the Audrey top, so no other options. The second stash yarn I wanted to share is Loops and Threads Cozy Wool Merino, which is a blend of acrylic and merino wool. And this yarn is maybe not the most appropriate for a summer knit tank. I still think it's going to be fine. I think it'll still be pretty comfortable, but this is leftovers from my Highland slipover, and I have about 1.5 balls, so a decent amount of meterage. And when I thought about what I could knit with this leftover yarn, I thought I'll just knit a summer tank. We'll see how it goes, but I think it should still be okay. It's a DK weight, so it's not too heavy. So yeah, I have two options for this stash yarn. The first is the Fresco top, which is a pattern by WitreDesign. And this is a one shoulder neckline, so I think it looks really cool, very modern, knit with DK weight on 4mm needles. There's 7 sizes with a finished bust of 72 to 122 centimeters. And the suggested yarn, also similar to the Audrey top, is Lena by Sandnesgarn, Milena Paulina, or Drop Spell. And it's knit from the bottom up in a similar manner to the Audrey top. I think it's because with the armhole and the neckline shaping of summer tanks, it looks maybe a little bit cleaner to do decreases rather than increases. I'm not really sure, but that's what I assume. That's why a lot of summer tanks are designed in that way. But because it's stockinette, you can also do the Judy's Magic cast on and then knit the length of the body later. So you work the body in the round, and then you divide for the front and the back, and then you work those decreases. But I guess it's at an asymmetrical rate because it's a one shoulder tank. When I was reading the project description, I have the pattern actually. I should have probably referenced it before, but it does say that it's reversible. So the front and the back are the same, so you can choose which shoulder to wear it on. I don't know if that really matters too much, but I guess it's nice to have that option. I also want to make a potential modification to this top if I knit it. I saw, again, online, there's this one shoulder knotted top where the top of the shoulder, there's like a literal knot on it. And I really liked how that looked, and I haven't seen a knitwear pattern similar to that. So I was thinking that I could just use this Fresco top as the base, and maybe as I'm decreasing here, I don't work as many decreases because the strap here is a pretty thin I-cord. Maybe I can decrease less so it's a bit of a thicker strap, and either work that in stockinette or maybe even double knitting, and then tie a knot before I secure it at the back. I don't know if that's going to work either, but I really like the look of that knotted one shoulder or a thicker one shoulder design. So I think I'll use the Fresco top as a base since I already have the pattern, and I think it will look really stunning and elegant in the black. So really excited for that potential plan. But something else that I was thinking of knitting with this is still in testing, and thank you to quite a few of you who messaged me on Instagram with this design. The Genie top by Milena Paulina is in testing, and it has a keyhole neckline. So in my summer knitting faves video, I chatted about potential necklines that I wanted to knit in the future, and I mentioned a keyhole neckline, but I didn't have a potential pattern that I was thinking of, because I think it's a pretty unique, I guess, neckline. I hadn't come across anything, and coincidentally on the day that I posted the video, I saw that she was putting out a test call for it. So it's not out yet, and I don't know too much about the tank, but I'm really intrigued by that one. From what I can tell though, it is a worsted weight yarn gauge. So she knit one of the samples with Amira by Lang Yarn, which is 100 meters for every 50 grams. So this one could work, it cannot work. It's a DK weight, so we'll see. But it has a high halter neck and I-cord ties as well that tie at the back. And then there's a keyhole design at both the front and the back. But from what I can tell from photos, the keyhole design connects at the front, but then it's open at the back because that's where you tie it together with the I-cord ties. Not sure if it's worked bottom up or top down, but I should have enough yarn anyways to make it work. So that one, once it's released and I have a little bit more pattern information, and maybe when I see more testers also work up the design, I may pivot and go from that Fresco top to the Genie top. We'll have to see, but I really want to use this black yarn for both of those designs. The next stash yarn that I have to share is Illimani Sabri, and this is a fingering weight yarn that has a pretty unique composition. It's 85% organic cotton and 15% baby alpaca, 400 meters for every 100 grams. This is in the color 38. And I got this yarn a few years ago in Montreal, and it's just been sitting in stash. I really love the color. I have about 800 meters, so quite a bit of meterage for me to knit a tank. And I was thinking of two potential options again for this stash yarn. So the first is Camisole No. 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And this is, I would say, a pretty signature design of My Favorite Things Knitwear. It features those cables that she has in her sweater number 15. She has another sweater, I don't know the sweater number, maybe 28, 29 maybe. I know she's coming out with a jacket number 2. She has a balaclava in this pattern, so I feel like she has quite a few designs with this cable pattern. And I really liked the pattern because of the high neckline. So a bit more about this pattern. It's a fingering weight pattern knit with 3mm needles. There's 5 sizes with a finished bust from 77 to 109 centimeters, and the suggested yarn that the sample uses is Knitting for Olive Merino. The top is knit top down in a very standard way, I guess. You cast on stitches for the back, you knit the back panel, then you pick up stitches to work the neckline and then the one of the fronts, and then you repeat the same thing for the other side of the front panel. You join them in the round, you work that front panel flat, and then you join it all together, and then you work the body. Definitely my preferred method to knit top down. And it has those signature increases along the neckline, which I think just have a nice decorative detail. It looks really clean. It has the high crew neck, which is what I was looking for. It has negative ease, which I don't know exactly how it's going to work with the cotton, because in my experience, cotton yarn can tend to stretch out. So I don't know, but it does have the 15% baby alpaca, and when I'm feeling it now, it doesn't have the most elasticity. So I'm not exactly sure if this is going to work the best, but I saw on Ravelry that some projects use Knitting for Olive pure silk, which also I think doesn't seem to have a lot of bounce but a lot of drape, so I think it'll perform similar to this. I still think it'll work for this top. And unlike Camisole No. 9, which I knit and I didn't really like all the finishing, just how involved it was and time consuming, and I didn't really think it was worth it. It didn't have the cleanest finish. This one just has simpler finishing along the armhole and the neckline. It's just a standard 1x1 rib, so I'm happy about that. So I'm thinking of knitting this pattern with this yarn. A second option though, and I don't have a lot of information about it, but it's going to be a new release, is the mixed rib camisole by Handmade by Florence that's currently in testing. This is knit with fingering weight yarn on 2.5mm needles, and the pattern sample is knit also similar to Camisole No. 8 with Knitting for Olive Merino. The top features an all over rib texture. It alternates between bands of stockinette and bands of twisted rib, and it just has a really elegant, I guess, boat neckline. It's pretty high up, and I really like the look of it. I think it just looks very yeah, elegant, very classic. You can dress it up, dress it down, and especially worked in this color, I think it's going to be very office appropriate, a little bit more professional looking. So I don't have a lot of information about this pattern either because it's still in testing. Florence posted that it is she's planning to release it the week of June 24th, so right at the time of me filming this video. So yeah, I'll have to check out more of the pattern specifications and examples to see if I really want to knit it, but from what I can tell, it's knit from the top down, a very standard way, similar to Camisole number 8, where you knit the back panel, then you knit the front panels, and then you join it in the round, and it has pretty simple finishing. I think because with the bands or columns of twisted rib and stockinette, the piece already sits quite flat, so there's not a lot of finishing work you have to do along the armhole or the bottom hem, so I like that. It's a little bit more simple, so we'll have to see. I'm thinking about those two projects for this yarn. The next pattern that I'm thinking about is an accessory. It's the Technicolour Purse by Petite Knit. This is a design that I think she released maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I always really love the look of the Technicolour series, and I think it's a great way to use up leftover yarn, and I have some leftover yarn here. So the purse is knit with fingering weight yarn on 5mm needles, and you need to use a 3mm, I think, double pointed needles or either magic loop for the finishing of the purse. And you are working with fingering weight yarn, but I think the reason why you have to use a larger needle size, 5mm, is because you're working with 3 fingering weight yarns together at a time. And with the Technicolour Purse, there's a gradient that's worked into the design. I know I've seen some examples on Ravelry of single color Technicolour totes, and I think those are really pretty. But I think the whole premise of this design is to be able to use up your leftovers and blend all of the colors together. There are 3 different sizes in the pattern, and you knit it from the bottom up in this slip stitch texture. And I haven't worked that before, but I know there's video tutorials online. And then once you work that body of the purse just in the round, then you sew in the zipper and lining. I was going through my scraps and I realized that I almost have the exact same colors that Petite Knit used in her sample. So I may shamelessly copy that color palette because that was what made me really like the Technicolour purse. So I'm not being very original with this color combination. I do think that maybe I could use these 3 more neutral shades as the base, and I was thinking of switching out the blues for fuchsia and red. So I'm thinking potentially that, but I just think that all of these colors are just really up my alley. They're all scraps from previous projects, some of them being garments. So I have some odds and ends with these yarns that I really want to use up. I might knit the size small or medium depending on what zipper size that I can get and how much of each scrap that I have. I still need to weigh all of these and then figure out the placement of them, but I think I'll have enough to knit the small or medium for sure. And the stash yarns that I have here are Sanis Garn Sunday, Knitting for Olive, Merino, Cascade Heritage. So all fingering weight yarns that I think are going to work really well together. They all have a pretty matte finish. I don't know if that really matters for the purse, but yeah, I have this ready to go for this purse. And the last stash plan that I wanted to chat about is not really a summer garment, but I wanted to also balance some of these quicker summer tanks with a more time-consuming, larger textured knit project, and it is my Genie jacket by Petite Knit. So I am doing the Genie jacket as part of a year-long knit along with my friends, and I am shamelessly, but also a little bit embarrassed. I'm very behind a lot of them. They've all casted on already and are making a lot of progress with their jackets, and I haven't started mine yet. So I need to catch up, and I figured summer will be a really nice time while I'm working on some more quicker, smaller tanks and accessories, I can work on this longer term project and try and make some progress on it. So I won't mention the Genie jacket pattern specifications too much because I have mentioned it in a few videos. It was in my 2024 knitting plans video. It was in the textured knit cardigans roundup. So I've been thinking about this jacket for quite a while. I'm thinking of knitting the V-neck version. I don't know, I thought about knitting the original Genie jacket, which has the higher neck collar, but I don't know, it might be one of those times where I might like the color in that silhouette, but I may not like the color that I'm thinking of in that silhouette, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I'm gonna like the finished piece as much in gray as I do the tan or like a warmer toned color. So I think I'm just gonna stick to my original plan and knit the Genie jacket V-neck. So the Genie jacket V-neck is fingering weight and lace weight, so a wool and mohair held together on 4mm needles. There's 9 sizes with a finished bust between 101 and 155 centimeters, and it has an all-over smock stitch, which essentially is based off my gauge swatch, is rib stitch, and then at a certain round you're doing the smock gathering. So it is a little bit time consuming but pretty fun to work up. And the yarn that I'm thinking of using is 2 Knit Picks yarns, Knit Picks Palette in the shade Finley Heather, and then Knit Picks Aloft in the shade 6872, but I believe this is called Plover, I want to say. So I think the heathering of this yarn is going to work really well with the smock stitch, and if you can't already tell based off of the photo I'm going to put here, this is very similar to Petite Knit sample, like the Technicolor tote. I want to try to be original, I guess, and knit things with colors, more unique colors, but sometimes when I see a sample that's knit in shades that I would really wear myself, I just want to copy it exactly. So yeah, this is a similar light gray to the sample. I'm really excited for that one. I'm hoping to make some good progress on it because I have until the end of the year to finish it. So those were my summer knitting plans. I'm hoping that I actually stick to them, but if not, you know, nothing's set in stone, and I have those 2 patterns in testing that I'm keeping my eye on. I hope that you maybe got some inspiration from this video, or if not, I just kept you company for a little bit of time. I will be casting on the Audrey top, I think, first, so look forward to that in some future podcast episodes. I'd love to know what you're thinking of as well, if there's any other higher neckline tanks that you think that I would like, that you're planning to knit, or just anything. I'd love to hear it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and again, thank you so much if you reached this point in the video, and I'll see you in my next one.